Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Before we start this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie, I want to say that if you'd like to support the show, please go to ridingshotgunwithcharlie.com and get some Riding Shotgun with Charlie stickers and Gungram stickers and patches. And I actually have a few of the credit card knives as well. So if you go there, that'll be great. If you are new to the channel, I want to thank you guys for watching the show. I'm trying to pay attention to the analytics on YouTube, and it looks like there are more people that are watching the show than have subscribed to the show. So if you're new to the show and you're watching the show, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you know when new shows come out. And I thank you guys for being here.
Can I see one of those credit card knives?
Absolutely.
Aha.
Have you seen them before?
Yes, these are great. They never with your logo, which makes it special.
Right.
But this is a great way to end pointless credit card debt, right?
It is.
It is. I tell you, and you can, really cut down your debt.
You
right?
cut
down your credit card debt right here. This is good.
It's to have an extra knife in case you.
Why not? It's right.
Right.
Hey,
it's, what did you say? The backup to your backup.
Exactly.
This is the backup to your backup's backup.
Well, if you ever need to take a stab at that, you got it. I like it.
Awesome.
Oh, we're gonna have bad dad jokes.
Oh, we're gonna have bad dad jokes.
But yeah, those are good.
They're
cool.
Good. They're cool. They're not TSA safe.
No, as a matter of fact, they will confiscate it absolutely.
I've had a number of friends lose them at the airports.
They need to make them out of titanium.
I gotta talk to
them. Then have no signature.
Gotcha.
Then right.
Okay.
Of course, if you get caught with it, you're gonna have a problem. But
right.
Yeah, that's what the issue is. They'll take anything, no matter how. At one time, you could have a blade that size. It was small enough.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like there was any problem. But now they'll confiscate, Swiss Army knives, nail clippers, anything metal. It's ridiculous. But you can have a pen that you could. Which is ridiculous because the pen is.
You can do the same thing.
There's so many things, right? It's
totally.
just as foolish and as bureaucratically stupid as it can get.
As it can.
Right.
All right. Mm-hmm. All right. Listen, we've already kicked off the show. We are in Boscawen, New Hampshire, and I have with me the amazing Evan F. Nappen. I love it. Evan, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Happy to be here. I've been meaning to take a ride with you.
Oh, I'm honored. I've been a fan of Evan Nappen since I heard you on the Gun for Hire podcast many years ago.
Where I got my start with our good friend Anthony.
Anthony, yes. Anthony's been on the show.
And now I've had my own podcast, which I'll shamelessly plug.
Oh, you should.
Which is Gun Lawyer. The Gun Lawyer podcast. Yeah,
it's another good show. I haven't done this yet, but I'm planning on doing a gungram of dun 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 dun.
You like that?
I do.
That song sticks in everybody's head. It's really good. It's really good.
I was listening to it one day, and I was listening to the show one day, and I texted John Petrolino, and I texted to him, "I am a lawyer.
Right.
I am a lawyer."
Left ear.
All right.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, it's very catchy. Very catchy.
It is.
Kind of like Corona. It was the same idea. I did have the Chi-Coms engineer that song for me, by the way.
Did you?
Yeah,
Nice.
in Wuhan Lab.
Well, we're gonna have.
It was one of their early experiments. It worked out well. Yes.
I love it. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. All right, so you are the gun lawyer, and you've been a gun lawyer for a long time.
Over 35 years.
That is a long time.
It's a long time.
That is a long time.
Yep, it is. Protecting law-abiding criminals, as I call them.
Yeah, law-abiding criminals. You got the BITS, the blood in the streets.
Exactly.
Oh man,
it's
so many great phrases you've come up with.
It is. I try. It's funny. Well, recently, the phrase I coined was "bang or bong." You can't have both, and that is stuck and gone everywhere.
Totally.
And now there's even a new one that is badge, bang, and bong. You can't have all three.
Right.
Because of the recent New Jersey Attorney General saying cops can smoke weed off duty. Well, actually, not if they want to keep their gun, because they're a marijuana user and they become a prohibited person under federal law. Mm-hmm. Federal law hasn't changed.
Right. And
it's kind of shocking because the whole distribution of marijuana is a violation of federal law. And look, I don't have a dog in this fight. If you want to legalize marijuana, whatever. My love and concern is guns. Why don't you pull right in here? And all right. I'll show you right in here. So this is the issue though with marijuana is it's still a federal crime to possess marijuana, to use marijuana, sell marijuana, transport marijuana. If you have cannabis over 3% THC, it's federally prohibited. Yet the state of New Jersey is sanctioning the distribution of a controlled dangerous substance, Schedule 1, by the state of New Jersey. And they even know it because the dispensaries have to run in cash because, just like any other drug dealer. Oh, sure. Right? And so they're doing this, so that alone creates a problem. Now, of course, the feds are, closing their eyes to that. Okay. Yeah. But not on the gun law side, man. Right. Not on the gun law side. You have a weed card for medical purposes. You go to a dispensary and you buy marijuana, you're going to be registered on that. You're declaring yourself a prohibited person for guns.
It's nuts. I've adopted the bang and bong, and I told people I wanted to open up. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to open up a store and call it Charlie's Bang or Bong, and it's two businesses.
There you go.
Right, 2 doors. You got the gun store over here. You got the pot store over here. You buy your guns, you buy your ammo, you buy your weed. You go in the back. There's one cash register.
Well, what you do is you add cigars, alcohol, and then you have the DEA and the ATF. You have alcohol, tobacco, firearms, weed. You got all the agencies combined. They're talking about interagency cooperation. I mean, there you got it. You got it right there, right?
That would be great. That would be great.
Now, this is a trail to the monument, which we don't have to take, but I want you to just go forward a little.
All right.
And you'll be able to see, actually go past the gun, off to there fixing it, but it should clear. And you'll be able to see from here, there's a little island. See that monument over there? Look through the trees till you see the monument.
I think I can see it.
It's a little, if you go a little bit more this way, where it just opens up. Keep going. Let's see if we can see it. See, the river comes through here. Yeah. There's a little island, and you'll see there's a monument on this island that you could walk to. Tell me if you see it back there.
Yeah, the trees open up a bunch more here.
Keep going. Tell me when you see the monument off.
Oh, here's something.
Yeah, that's because you're too close to the curb.
Right. I see the island. I don't know if I can see the monument.
It's on the tower. No, it's past. Well, that monument is on an island. And it's a monument to Hanna Dustin. Hanna Dustin monument is the first monument in America honoring a woman, and it was done right after the Indian Wars out west. And they honored her because she was a colonial woman who was kidnapped by Indians in Massachusetts. And the Indians took her and her fellow colonists, and they kidnapped them, and they took, matter of fact, they took one of the babies, and they just smashed the baby's head against a tree, killing it. And they captured all these colonists, and they were taking them to sell them into slavery north. And that's what they would do with them. Wow. And they stopped at the island here in Boscawen, and Hanna Dustin at night when the Indians were asleep, she was able to get hatchets and such off them, and they proceeded to kill and scalp. I think it was about 16 or so of all the Indians that had taken them.
Wow.
And after she scalped them, they escaped in their canoes back to Massachusetts down the river here. And the reason that she took the scalps is they paid money for Indian scalps. And she was, you know, a New Englander. She's not going to lose that kind of money afterward. So she took that, and it was quite the famous story of pioneer woman defending, fighting, and dealing with that period of time. It's about as politically incorrect as you can get.
Right.
And the monument there has Hanna holding scalps and hatchet.
Oh my God.
And you know, and at some point, a company, maybe like LL Bean or similar to LL Bean, maybe it was Bean, did a bottle of the monument to her. And those are really cool because it's Hanna with the scalps and everything, holding the, and that's the American woman. And you can read, actually, you can read the historic sign right there about her. There. And that's where it occurred.
All right, I'm going to come back.
Hanna Dustin. And the thing is, in New Hampshire, in our gun rights fight here, the women's defense group, in a number of particular fights, set up the Hanna Dustin League to combat gun control and have pro-women defense.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what
cool.
It's named after, and that's what she was. So she was an early American hero.
That's cool. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back and get a picture.
Go
so
here.
I can put
go
it
right. Yeah. Like I said, you probably didn't hear about her in history
class.
class.
About her in class. No,
yeah, but
not so much.
I think from the bridge you'll get a good view.
Oh yeah, I can see it now.
Yeah, that's the Hanna Dustin Monument, and a claim to fame at Boscawen. I was on the. She, I think, the other statue of her is Haverhill. I think that's where she was captured, in Haverhill, Mass.
It's Haverhill.
Oh, Haverhill. What do I know? I'm not. I just stay away from Mass.
I don't blame you. Unless you.
You know what we call people from Mass, right?
We are Mass.
Right. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Don't go down.
It took me long enough to pronounce Concord right.
Concord?
Yeah, Concord. It's Concord. Anyone says Concord,
right?
You know that it's not. Yeah. Concord. So up here is 93 North, and we'll get on 93 North.
All right. So how did you get into gun stuff, Evan? You've been into gun stuff for forever? Guns and knives, I hear you say all the time that you love anything that shoots and anything that's got a blade on it.
Anything that cuts or shoots, I like. I strictly limit myself. And it started, way back. You know, I just had a healthy interest, the way most young boys do, in, you know, knives and guns. I mean, you know, and remember, in my day, all that was not politically incorrect. It was fine. Yeah. You know, and the Boy Scouts trained with 22s, and you could talk about it in school, and you could do all these kind of great things that, of course, they've suppressed now. Yeah, it's the green crap that screws everything up. Yeah, the country's being slowly killed by gangrene. That's what I call it. So that's what it is. It's death by gangrene. And boy, are they a gang of greenies. They're just... Right. Well, you know, the ancient Aztecs, you know, they did human sacrifice, you know. This is just slow human sacrifice at the altar of the same thing. And you better believe in it, or you're going to be on the altar. Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's what they're all about.
All right, so you've been a gun and a knife guy since you were young. Scout?
Absolutely, and had, you know, one of the moments I really remember was when I was a Cub Scout, and my dad gave me his Swiss Army knife that he had bought on his honeymoon in Bermuda. I love that. Still have it.
That's cool.
Yeah, and you know, just this interest that slowly grew with knives and shooting, and ended up just loving everything about outdoors, hunting and fishing and target shooting and everything about it. And so, you know, when you've lived and breathed firearms and you know firearms technically, their model and make, and then you know their history, which is wonderful and amazing, and you gotta love history, and then you love firearm history. Yeah. Because it just ties right in. And appreciation of the laws and love of the Constitution and seeing our rights and liberty flourish. All these things came together so that the career that I'm in lets me pursue all those things that I care about.
That's cool. Now, how did you decide to become an attorney? Like, what was...
Well, I was sort of, as an adult, was planning to become an attorney. My father was a professor. He's retired, but he's a professor at Monmouth University, and he taught political science and constitutional law.
Mm-hmm.
And he, unlike college professors today, is actually a conservative, not a libturd, believe it or not one. So that's kind of shocking.
Yeah.
But I grew up in a great household with a fantastic mother and father, and my father and I would always discuss these things. And my dad, in college and university and teaching, it is to some degree an ivory tower when you're in that environment.
Yeah.
And instead I was able to actually use all this and make it real, because you're in the system, and instead of just the discussions about the importance of the Fourth Amendment, search and seizure, you actually see it invoked and save a law-abiding criminal, an honest New Jersey gun owner, from facing draconian mandatory penalties, for something like possessing a slingshot, which is a felony in New Jersey, things like that. So you can actually see it work.
Mm.
It's good. And I grew up with this and had a love for it, and so did my brother. And my brother and I both politically, brother's part of my firm, Lewis,
Mm-hmm.
politically we're the same, and both became attorneys, and both were inspired by our father.
Yeah.
And it is been good in that regard. Sure.
Very cool. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yep.
It's great that it's essentially a family business.
Well, my son now is his last semester at law school, and he's going to be graduating next month and then taking the bar. And he's become inspired to do it. And look, I tried to dissuade him. He wouldn't listen. He's insisting on becoming an attorney, so it's on him. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems to work out pretty well
Right.
for you, so maybe he'll...
But he has the same passions.
That's awesome. That is great.
Right.
That is really cool. 35 years. You have an office in New Hampshire, and you have an office in New Jersey. You started in New Jersey?
Yes, started in New Jersey, and I have offices in both states. And it's fun having offices in those two states because they're literally night and day.
Oh, yeah.
So if you live in New Jersey and you want to understand New Hampshire, imagine everything about New Jersey, and now imagine the opposite, and New Hampshire. And I have to tell folks in New Hampshire, imagine everything about and then New Jersey, because It's absolutely true. It's the freest, New Hampshire is the freest gun law state in America, and New Jersey is the worst, least free, most draconian in America.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Yes.
So bad down there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, I've been listening to Gun for Hire for a long time, and I think I've heard every time you've been on. I'm pretty sure I've heard you.
Yes, that's pretty good, and it's there's a lot of folks in Jersey. More people in New Jersey want to leave New Jersey than want to stay.
Right, and they got attached to leave.
Just generally, that's what they want. And what happens is, amongst gun owners, it's even higher. People that care about the Second Amendment, they want out of Jersey.
Yeah.
And the number one candidate state is Pennsylvania, right next door, and it makes sense. And yes, you do radically gain substantially more freedom just by moving to Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
But the ultimate freedom, when it comes to Second Amendment rights, is New Hampshire.
It's up here in New Hampshire.
Right.
What led you to move to New Hampshire besides the freedom?
Well, I love that's really, New Hampshire has a lot of things that are amazing about the state itself. A lot of people don't realize. In New Hampshire, there's no state income tax.
Nice.
There's no state sales tax.
Nice.
You decide whether you want to wear your safety belt or not. And so I don't have it on now. Now I probably should wear it, and it'd be safer to have it on. But you know what? It's not an excuse to get pulled over. And normally I do wear it, but hey, whatever. It's a choice, and we're big boys and girls, and we can decide. Imagine that. Mm-hmm. The only state in the union that lets the adult decide whether to wear a safety belt or not. It's just little freedoms like that you appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes to the bigger freedoms. There are no knife laws in New Hampshire. You can buy, own, sell, carry any knife, anywhere. And you can carry your gun in New Hampshire. No permit, no permission slip, no license, anywhere under state law except one place, and that's a courthouse. So these are the kind of freedoms we're talking about.
So permit and license, I was listening to your show recently, and you talked about the difference between a permit and a license, now, which I absolutely love.
In New Hampshire, they do offer a license, which is optional, completely optional, and if you get it, it's because you want reciprocities, and you seek to, but you do not need it. It's absolutely not required. There's not even a law you can be charged with in violation. There's no handgun possession law that even exists in New Hampshire that you can be charged with. But the license is a license and not a permit. And folks in New Hampshire, I learned early on, were touchy about that. Because in New Jersey, we had permits. They have a handgun carry permit. Well, in New Hampshire, it's a license, because a permit implies a permission. Right. And it's not a permission. Okay. There is no permission. It's your right. Now, if you want a license, you can have it. Now, some folks will say it's a distinction without a difference, but I don't think so, because words are important. And this is something, and there's a reason why New Jersey calls it a permit, because they want you to get permission. And there's a reason New Jersey puts their gun laws in the criminal code, because they look at all of us as criminals. New Hampshire, public safety. Okay? There's a difference where the attitude is critical.
All right, staying with the language.
Yes.
I want to try to clear something up.
Go right ahead.
John Petrolino and I talk about this a lot. John's become a really good friend of mine over the last year and a half, and he calls it permitless carry over constitutional carry.
Yes.
And this is something that he's written some articles about this. I think he's referred to you.
Yes, I love John. John is a great guy and a prolific, fantastic writer and advocate. Great guy. And I understand why he wants to call it that, but here, with all respect, 100%, and just my take on it, I get where he's coming from. I prefer constitutional carry. And that's because we are in a war of words with those that want to take our freedom. And if you want to pass a bill in a state, what is easier and better for someone to support it when it's constitutional carry based on a constitutional right, or when it's permitless carry where the other side says you want unlicensed people without permits to run around without guns? But if it's constitutional carry, it's a right.
It's a constitutional.
And so the power of constitutional carry is why I want to call it that. And we have to be careful what we call things all the time. And I tell you who's great at this, and originally brought my attention to it years ago, is Alan Corwin. Who writes a lot of the gun law books, and great guy, super smart. I always enjoy speaking with Alan, and I consider him a friend. And he pointed out this critical importance of language, and I've tried to be careful about that. That's why there are many things that the antis do that are very smart, and they create the boogeyman in words. Even the word assault firearm.
Yeah, you use assault firearm rather than assault weapon.
I have to, because it's actually the definition in New Jersey. It's the term of law. It is an actual thing. But in truth, the actual assault rifle, it's not. Assault firearms in Jersey are not actual assault rifles. Because assault rifles are the Sturmgewehrs. And they're select fire, fully auto and semi-auto. But the antis knew this, knew it full well. If you get Josh Sugarman's, what I call the manifesto, his early book, Assault Weapons and Their Accessories, he wrote this before Patrick Purdy shot up the schoolyard. He laid the groundwork for this issue that we're still fighting to this day. Wow. And in it, he said the public will easily be fooled by this. Admitted it. And that's why you use the language of assault weapon when it's not. I have to call it assault firearm because I'm talking about a legal thing, a legal entity. I prefer modern sporting rifle, but a modern sporting rifle is not legally what it's called under the law. It's called an assault firearm, and that's a very complex 5-part definition. But on things that I'm not legally restricted, if I have to talk about the legal item itself, we still try to use language and support. For example, paintball markers. They're not paintball guns. They're markers. And I've trained myself. Paintball markers.
Right.
Call them markers, not guns.
Okay.
Okay? These are just these little things all throughout. Standard capacity magazines.
Oh,
now,
right.
I have to call them large at time because New Jersey put in the legal definition large capacity magazine. It's actually the term.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, if we're just talking generally, I prefer standard capacity magazines, right?
Right.
So these are the things. Language makes a big difference.
All right, so what makes the paintball gun different from a paintball marker?
Well, a gun would imply a firearm. It's not.
It's not.
It's a marker, and it's not a firearm. It's a marker.
All
And
right.
paintball markers originated as devices for marking trees. And that's
Okay.
the origin of it. They were markers. They originated as markers. And in New Hampshire is where it started. And these markers for marking trees, someone decided, hey, let's have some fun and, shoot at each other and play tag. And paintball became a thing.
Gotcha.
Right. It's paintball marker.
Paintball markers.
Right. That's
All
what they
right.
are. Not guns. Don't pull, because then they want to ban guns. And New Jersey tried to include paintball markers as firearms and prohibit them. And luckily we were able to defeat that in the case of Ray Gun, who was Top Gun paintball in Jackson.
Mm.
That's how we were able to do it. So
Gotcha.
it's important.
So back to the language stuff. BB, and I don't know if people around the country know this, but BB guns are illegal in New Jersey, right?
Well, traditional BB guns, air rifles, pellet firing rifles are firearms under New Jersey's definition of firearm. So they are treated the same
way.
as firearms. So if you're carrying a Daisy, Red Ryder BB gun, it's the same as if you have a Barrett 50. Okay, because both are firearms.
Right.
And they don't distinguish anything about that. As far as the same with black powder and antique.
Really?
Antique firearms are treated. As a matter of fact, the definition of handgun in New Jersey specifically says including antique handguns.
Now, wasn't there an old guy?
Yes, Mr. Van Gilder,
okay, he's
who
like
I represented, who was
72 years
arrested.
old?
Yeah, who was arrested for his Queen Anne flintlock original from the 1600s. That was pawned without his permission, and he retrieved it from the pawn shop and was stopped coming home and was arrested and charged with possession of a handgun. It's the same as if he had a .44 Magnum loaded in his boot. It didn't matter.
Unbelievable.
And he was facing only 10 years in state's prison with a minimum mandatory 3.5 years, no chance of parole, and if he was convicted, the judge would have absolutely no discretion, and his best sentence in New Jersey would be 3.5 years with no chance of parole, and whatever number the actual sentence was, whether it was 5 years, do 3.5, or whatever, and they'd have to impose the 3.5 on him for an antique, unloaded, retrieved from a
from the muzzle loading.
Right. That had there's no difference, and this is important to know this because as New Jersey has prohibited, for example, ghost guns, black powder firearms come under that. So if you build black powder guns in Jersey, you're building ghost guns, and you're facing serious felony level charges you could face for that. If you have any of the old flintlock build kits, now you're possessing ghost guns if they were unserialized, and the build, and now that becomes a prohibited. New Jersey in their ghost gun law not only prohibited the builds and the parts, but they also prohibited the data, the computer data. If you have a computer program to build a firearm, just the possession of the data program itself is a felony level offense. New Jersey, in effect, made possession of firearm information the equivalent of possessing child pornography. You simply can have the data, the digital.
Unbelievable.
And it is
that should be a First Amendment right.
It is. Of course it is.
Yeah.
But that has not stopped New Jersey. The current package of bills Murphy has put forward again includes the Lock Up Your Safety bill, requiring everyone in New Jersey to lock up their firearms unloaded with the ammunition separately locked up unless you're actually using it. So in your home, you're going to have your home defense gun unloaded, locked in one box, and the ammo locked in the other. So when someone's breaking your home, you're going to have to ask them just to wait a minute while you get your gun out and undo it, get the ammo out, undo it, load up, so you can defend yourself and your family. And if you don't have your gun stored in that manner, felony level offense for you. You see, every gun offense in Jersey is a felony level offense, and the reason is New Jersey wants to disenfranchise every gun owner of their rights. So if you're convicted of possession of a slingshot and you pay a $10 fine and get out, you're still felony convicted. Now you've lost your gun rights for the entire United States. So the game is disenfranchise the law-abiding gun owner by making this complex and insane matrix of gun laws that they can easily trip and fall. And this is the game.
It is a game. It is a scheme.
Yep.
It's a scheme. It really,
without a doubt,
is. It really is. It's frustrating and crazy.
I hear you.
And up here, you don't have any of that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and here there's nothing, right? No, in New Hampshire, there's no machine gun law, there's no silencer law, there's no SBR law, there's no DD law. None of those are even laws on the books. You just as long as you obey federal law.
Right. What's a DD?
Destructive device.
Destructive device.
Any of the NFA regulated items, there just isn't any laws. And there isn't any law on rifle possession, shotgun possession, nothing like that.
Nothing.
There's just no law to be charged with. It's really what freedom is. Not having that law. Now, if you do something stupid or wrong or criminal, there's plenty of laws on that. You'll be prosecuted, no problem.
Gotcha.
But the possessory offenses, that's not it. So
you've had some big name cases, and a couple of the people are ones that I've had on the show. I've had on Brian Aitken and I've had on Shanine Allen.
Yeah. We were happy to fight for them and to succeed, and it was quite a fight for both of them and others, because New Jersey, it's always a battle, kicking and screaming to save good people, great law-abiding people like Brian and like Shanine. And New Jersey doesn't care. New Jersey will destroy a person's life, their hopes, their dreams, their finances, their family, their career, destroy it all, as long as their anti-gun agenda is being pursued.
Right.
Yeah.
That's nuts. So Shanine had a permit for 2 weeks, I think?
She had a lawful Pennsylvania permit to carry from Philadelphia, which is not that easy to get. She had been robbed twice.
She brought, like 2 times in 3 months, right?
And she was not a gun person, per se.
Yeah.
Now, she became a fantastic advocate for her rights. But at the time, she wasn't, and she thought she was doing the right thing by
getting a license and telling the police officer.
Right. That's exactly it. And yet, she got arrested, and the best offer. Now, she was about 9 months with the public defender before I came in the case. The best offer on her case at that time was 7 with 3.5.
Wow.
So 3.5 minimum mandatory with 7 years state's prison.
Yeah.
For having the nerve to come into New Jersey with a licensed handgun from Pennsylvania, where you're a licensed person with a carry license. Because New Jersey recognizes no other state's gun license. None. No other state.
Unbelievable.
And that's because I guess New Jersey's license is just so great that they can't recognize any other state, you know. So nothing. No reciprocity. Zero.
No reciprocity. It's completely nuts. Yeah, she even told me that she called the Reverend Al Sharpton, and his office said, well, listen, you know, she tried doing the whole, hey, I'm young, I'm black, I got a gun license, I got locked up, and Al Sharpton's office told her, well, did you learn your lesson? You're like, holy crap.
Well, it doesn't fit the left's agenda.
It doesn't.
And the folks that are like Reverend Al Sharpton, they're part of the left's machine, and it's not about helping folks like Shaneen Allen.
Right.
Okay? And yet, the history of racism and gun control, which is trying to be purported by the left that somehow the Second Amendment is racist. You heard that.
Yeah.
What a joke. It's the exact opposite. It is what empowers individuals. And, you know, Martin Luther King was a gun owner and a gun advocate and was denied a carry license, okay, in his state. Now, why do you think that was, right? And this is real civil rights. Roy Innes and his son Niger, right? Mm-hmm. They're pro-gun. Of course, Roy's passed away, but he is a great man. These are true civil rights that understand how important it is. And you look at the history of discrimination and gun control, and it goes back all through the beginning from New Jersey's earliest gun laws prohibited blacks and Indians from having guns. Okay? Yeah, I mean, you know, way back, yeah, blacks and Indians. And you can see the real racism. And after the Civil War, the black codes were the earliest Saturday night special laws, where they only allowed possession of the expensive military models that the returning soldiers would have, but not the poor blacks. And you could go after them and disarm them. And remember, that's part of it, so that the Klan could keep them in fear and stop them from being armed. The Dred Scott decision itself, when you read it, essentially one of the arguments by Justice Taney about Dred Scott and not being given his rights as a citizen was that, well, what do you mean? We'd be able to bear arms then? We can't have that, can we? Right. Well, this is the opposite of their claim. True Second Amendment is the ability for everyone that wants to have the right and exercise that right to defend themselves, regardless of race or gender or anything. And that's if you are pro Second Amendment, you and I are on the same side. It really boils down to that simple. And all that other stuff is crap, and it's used to keep minorities down. And if you want to talk about institutionalized racism, I'll prove it to you right now when it comes to guns. But you won't see the left touch this, because the ratio of convicted felons, black to white, is 6-1. 6 black felon to 1 white felon. Now, whatever causes that, why? But think of this. Who gets denied a right to buy guns? Felons. You're denying blacks at a ratio of 6-1 to whites their right to bear arms. There's institutionalized racism.
Wow.
And it's not just me saying this. You know, the United States government sued BMW and Dollar General because an employment discrimination case.
Really?
And they said when the companies were ready to hire, they do a background check, and the person would come up convicted, and then they wouldn't hire them. And they said that's discrimination because you're discriminating against blacks 6-1 and Hispanics 2-1. Oh, really? Well, then how come it's not discrimination when it comes to guns?
Right.
Because it is. And here's where the twist gets even better. You can't get your rights restored federally because Charles Schumer got rid of the rights restoration ability under federal law to get a relief from disability. And because of that, blacks at a ratio of 6-to-1 that have been law-abiding citizens, made their one mistake, and are completely fine to be able to, and safe, and the ATF in the past would have approved them and given them a relief. That's been defunded, and they cannot get relief. So they're discriminated against and barred from gun ownership and given no ability to gain their rights back, which not only takes away the right to keep their arms, but takes away their ability to get jobs that involve firearms, law enforcement, military, security, any of the kind of work that requires, no blacks need apply.
Wow.
That's right.
That's
so there's institutionalized. But do you hear the civil rights folks talk about that?
No. Not at all.
You don't.
Not at all.
Right.
That's crazy.
That's the only way. Yeah,
what else can I say?
I don't know that.
You've written a number of books.
I have.
And everyone always talks about the big orange book that every gun owner in New Jersey should own.
That's my book on New Jersey gun law. It's over 500 pages. It explains 120 topics in question and answer. And it is the Bible of Jersey gun law. And New Jersey gun law is such a complicated matrix that I wrote that book to be user-friendly, so at least you can get an understanding. Because if you just try to read the statutes, forget it. Because each they interplay with so many others. And then the case law on top of that, then the regs on top of that, and the AG opinions on top of that. So where's this? But once you read it, now you know, and then you can actually look at the law that I'm talking about and read the law yourself. Because the saying, and I see it with the gun law, it's a seamless web. So where do you start? This shows you so you can at least get that understanding and then gain all the other knowledge from it. So you will understand Jersey gun law. And if you're a gun owner in New Jersey, you don't want to fall into these traps.
Oh my God, no.
And that's the importance of it. So it was really labor of love, and it's had great impact in helping people to understand just how bad New Jersey is. And, hopefully we'll get the reforms that we need. It's highlighted them and pointed them out, but politically, Jersey is such a difficult state. I also wrote the book on U.S. knife laws.
Oh yeah,
that's through Gun Digest, same publisher, and because I love knives as well as guns, and I did that work. Also wrote the New Hampshire gun law book, and written.
It should really be a pamphlet, shouldn't it?
Right. It basically is a size, compared.
You put it on a 3x5
without a doubt. And there's actually a novel my brother and I wrote called The Declaration.
Really?
Yeah, that's a rare book out there, but yeah, that's a fun read. Yes, and my first book was a book in 1983 that I wrote in college on carry permits, and it was published Guns Magazine, and they did it, and that book has helped me get into law school because I had a law book before I went into law school, and it was on carry licensing, and that was about 3 or 4 years before the modern carry movement began with 1987 when Florida got their shall issue.
Yeah.
So I feel I played a minor role in that, because Guns Magazine distributed the book, and we got people thinking about carry licensing.
That's really cool.
And the problems and the issues. So, yeah, way back. And it's amazing to look back and say, now we have 25 states where you need no license, no permit, no permission slip. We went from barely able to have shall issue licensing to half the country you can carry to defend yourself with no license. That's an astounding achievement in liberty. You think about it, there isn't too much in America where you're gaining freedom.
Right.
It's always I want to pass this law to ban this and take away this and stop this. How many laws are freedom laws? There's substantially less.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, I'm waiting for the politician to just run on repeal only, where he gets up and says, I will only repeal laws, and I swear and promise to fight to repeal at least 25% of the laws. You won't even miss them. Just think of the old laws that need to get off the books.
Right.
And we don't. Did you ever wake up? We need more law. No. We need to start clearing it away. Repeal. Get rid of it. Clean them out.
We need
enough already.
The Repeal Party.
We need the Repeal Party. Just period.
That would be awesome.
And all this repeal every malum and say, as they say. Malum prohibitum, not malum and say. Malum and say should stay. They're the laws that we all agree with that are, evil within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But the prohibitums, they're the ones where just some legislators decided they don't like this or they don't like that, and they're making some choice for us. We don't need them to do that. We can make our own choices.
Absolutely. It's I've said this before on the show. I'm pretty sure I've said this. When I was a kid, my mother, I swear it was my mother, but I asked my mother and she said it was my grandmother. But they grew up in way northern Wisconsin, and there was one Native American family, or there was one Indian student in the class,
mm-hmm.
and people would want to go touch him because they came from white Swedish America, so they're all really pale.
Right.
And they would want to go touch his skin because it was different, that it was not the same color.
Right.
And I swear to God, my mom said his name was Bajoom, and he would go around telling people, Bajoom, 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 you no touch me, I no touch you, Bajoom, Bajoom, Bajoom. And I'm like, I don't know, is this some sort of a haiku or something? I have no idea.
That's pretty good.
Right, and I'm like, man, this is something I remember from being a really young kid, and the older I get, the more I think like that, like, you leave me alone, I'm going to leave you alone, and we'll get along just fine.
That's why one of the symbols for the liberty movement is the porcupine. Because the porcupine, they won't attack you, but they will defend themselves.
Absolutely.
So just leave them alone. That's all they want to be, is left alone. Let them live.
Do you know the difference between a porcupine and a Porsche?
Go ahead, tell me.
The porcupine's got the prick on the outside.
Oh, there you go. Right. Oh, man.
We
just lost all your Porsche listeners.
I know, right? I will never get a Porsche endorsement.
That's it.
Sponsorship.
You're done. I think we need to modify that joke.
All right.
What's the difference between porcupine and the Convention of Anti-Gun Advocates? The convention has all the pricks on the inside. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, much better. Right?
That's awesome.
Right, yeah. Well.
Tell us about the Gun Lawyer podcast.
Well, that podcast has been doing very well, and I really love it because I get a voice. I can help educate folks and tell them good stories, and we have a lot of fun and not get suppressed, because I've had enough with Facebook and the shadow bans and the algorithms and all this crap. It's just terrible the way they suppress. I'm pretty excited. They just announced that it appears Musk has made the deal and will be acquiring Twitter.
I saw that this morning.
And he had a great tweet where he said, something about, I hope his fiercest critics stay on Twitter, because that's free speech.
Yeah.
And we're really going to make that happen. I mean, that's impressive, because how do we lose free speech in America? It's kind of amazing. I mean, you'll think about the, not just Second Amendment, but our First Amendment rights, and they're figuring, well, it's a private company, private entity, but there was this thing called the town square.
Right.
And that's what we're losing, and that was critical in the American Revolution, even, all the way back.
Absolutely.
So if this restores our town square, that's fantastic, because that's what we need. All our rights are under attack, all of them. And there's an absolute effort to diminish and knock out the Constitution, and doing it by dividing us. Divide and conquer. This is it.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like you said, you were talking before about everything being illegal in New Jersey,
right?
And I was thinking that I mention this all the time when I teach classes, that Brian Aitken was moving. Everything's illegal. He was moving. You can buy hollow point ammo, you can bring it to the range, and you can shoot it, but you can't move it from point A to point B.
Yeah, what happened there? Brian was following the law, and he had his firearms while moving, which was absolutely the case, and he had his ammunition as well, and he was locked up and being held without bail, and he was facing these serious charges. We were able to get him out, and we were able to fight this whole thing in which his conviction on appeal, the court tossed all charges except for hollow point bullet possession, and which was a 4th degree felony level offense that carried 18 months in state prison per bullet. Okay, that's technically how it worked. So they upheld his conviction for hollow nose, even though he was transporting them between places while moving. Now this is absurd because there's a specific exemption that allows you to transport your guns while moving, but the exemption on hollow nose doesn't say while moving. And this went all the way up through the court, which upheld that ridiculous situation, saying, look, the law doesn't say you can have it while moving, so you can't. And luckily, he had been pardoned by the governor, so he didn't have the felony issue hanging him, stopping him from owning guns. But we still had pursued the appeal and the fight, because it was important.
Yeah.
So at least personally, he had his pardon, which was good. But the upholding of that means that when you sell your home and you're going to move, you broom clean, you leave a bottle of champagne, and you leave your pile of hollow point ammunition to enjoy, because I can't take it with me.
But if they don't have a license, then you're...
Well, they're allowed to possess the hollow notes in the home. That's the exception.
Even without a permit?
Yeah, but here's the loophole. Here's what you got to do. The day that you're selling your home and you're moving to your new home, you better hope your spouse is really cool about guns. You say, honey, in between selling, I know we're going to be really busy and moving money and signing all kinds of...
Right.
But in between moving, we got to go to the target range. Okay? So right after we sell our home, we're going to go right to the target range. And then we're going to go from the target range to the new place, because you can go to the range and then go there. So that's how you take your hollow nose while moving, by insisting on having a target range stop in between, so that you stay within exemptions.
That is ridiculous.
Yes, it's absurd.
Ridiculous. It is.
Well, people ask all the time in New Jersey, can I use a hollow nose ammo in my home for self-defense?
Yeah.
And the answer is, you can possess your handgun in your home under the exemption for self-defense.
Yeah.
And for possession of a handgun. You can possess hollow nose ammunition in your home under the exemption for hollow nose. You can load your gun with hollow nose, and you still are possessing the gun and the ammunition in your home. And if you're justified in using deadly force, then you can shoot the bad guy with the hollow nose in your home, and that's fine. You can do that.
Yeah.
But then they can charge the bad guy with unlawful possession of a hollow nose bullet.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So it works out well.
That's awesome. All right, this is where we go.
17.
All right. Well, listen, we are almost back to the New Hampshire office here. How can people find the Gun Lawyer podcast? How can they can't find you on the Facebook? So
yes, you can find my law office on Facebook, Evan Nappen, attorney at law. They can find Gun Lawyer on Facebook.
Okay.
They can also go to the website, which I'd suggest, and Gun Lawyer is www.gun.lawyer. You know how you have .com?
Yeah.
I have .lawyer.
That's cool.
So I have www.gun.lawyer for the podcast, and it's www.evannappen.com. And you can check out our website. And I have all kinds of things there for book updates. If any of you have the book, it's free updates. I do the updates free, and you can keep your book up to date.
So you can doing like download a PDF or something?
Anyone who gets my book, I'm doing free updates till Murphy's out of office. So any updates I do, they're free online, so you can keep your book updated.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so that's where you find it.
That is really cool.
Oh yeah. So
all right, we gotta
gonna see Hanna again. Always say hello.
All right.
To our girl there.
That is a wild story. Though.
Yeah, I know. New Hampshire has a lot of interesting things about it.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. It is free America. It is live free or die.
It absolutely is.
Coming from New Jersey, how do you feel about the massholes moving up here?
Well, this is a problem because you need to. If you come to New Hampshire, you need to be here because you appreciate what it is, not want to change it to where you left.
Right.
The reason you're leaving, keep that in mind. So there are people that move here that love the freedom and want to keep it, but if you come here like from Massachusetts and some assholes are like, hey, no one's picking up my trash. That's right. They don't do that. You have to dispose, go to the, it's not
right.
But the taxes are substantially lower, and then you're saving. It's more of that type of. No, keep going.
No, yeah, we'll just turn.
Oh, you can turn
here and,
sure.
And close everything out.
Okay. So that's the trade-off, and if you want to spend a lot in taxes and have a lot of government in your life, then this is not the state for you, right?
Yeah.
But then you want New Jersey, because then you can spend a lot of money and have government in your life all the time over all kinds of things, and not just guns.
Not just guns. It's
right.
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. I mean, just the invasion of your privacy, the invasion of, even with taxes, it's intrusive. Everything is intrusive, and they're crawling up your butt all the time on things, but not in the free state. That's the difference.
America. That's cool.
Yeah, so this is one of the last holdouts of all in the Northeast. Because,
oh my gosh, it really is.
Because you got Massachusetts, New York, and then even Maine and Vermont, unfortunately, are high tax, and although they're pretty good on guns, they're not great on certain other things. They're high tax and whatever. And so one of the questions is, how come New Hampshire has held out when all these other states have collapsed into more authoritarianism and taking away freedom?
Yeah.
And the reason is New Hampshire's legislative body. New Hampshire has 400 members of their House of Representatives,
and they only get paid like a dollar,
like $100 for the year. You know, and they have 24 senators and 1 governor. 400 people in a state under 1.5 million in people. You have 400. The ratio is basically 3,000 to 1, and with this ratio, if 1,501 people are pissed off in a district, that person's out for sure.
Right.
You see, so they have to be very responsive to the people, and the legislators are not professionals. They're people, and they don't want their rights taken because they're not elitists.
Right.
So they're the 3rd largest legislative body in the world is New Hampshire.
Unbelievable.
To have the U.S. Congress be the equivalent in constituency ratio, we'd have to have 90,000 Congress critters.
Holy crap.
I'd like that, 90,000. Because that's how hard it would be to get things done and how much responsive. And you could, 90,000. So that ratio, that's why they've held out. And they're surrounded by the other states where it hasn't. Because they have to have, so that's been an insurance policy to the state, I believe, and it's a good thing. It's an important thing.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
awesome, Evan.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Charles. I'm honored to have you here. Have you on the show.
Yeah.
I want to give you some riding shotgun patches, stickers.
Thank you.
And the credit card knife. I know the credit card knife's not going to mean anything up here except an extra knife.
That's good. I can take this anywhere. Except the courthouse.
Yes, in New Hampshire.
Yeah, New Hampshire.
Anywhere but the courthouse.
You can be drunk and have a weapon in New Hampshire. It's not a problem as long as you don't use it unlawfully. Right. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this is good stuff.
That's free America.
And I thought, this is nice. You got a lot of nice bling, man.
Thanks.
I've got to really up my bling game here.
So I will say this. I was visiting Anthony at Gun for Hire one time because I used to always go when I'd go through New Jersey. I would stop and check in with him.
Right.
And he's like, "Hey, you got to get some stuff." And I'm like, "I don't know what to get." He's like, "Get some stickers." Like everyone likes stickers. I'm like, "All right, I'll get some stickers." And he looked at me. He's like, "You're not going to do it, are you?" I'm like, "Oh crap." So I had to go home. I'm like, "All right, I got to find some stickers. I got to send him my logo."
Good. All right.
So
now I got to have stickers and morale patches.
Patches, yeah.
And that's good.
So it was when I got some stickers. I sent him a couple, and he put them on a gun safe at Gun for Hire. Cool.
That is cool.
Awesome. Hold on a second. All right, so thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. It was great to have Evan, I can't even talk. Great to have Evan Nappen on the show. If you are not a member of the Second Amendment Foundation, you can join at saf.org. The lifetime membership's only $150. You should also support the CCR-BKA, the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms, and you should check out the Self-Defense Radio Network, sdrn.us. That is all your favorite pro-freedom podcasts in one place. And if you haven't liked and subscribed to Riding Shotgun with Charlie on YouTube, please make sure you do that. You can watch the show on YouTube, on Gunstreamer, on Full 30, and on the OpsLens app. And thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you later.